Good afternoon. After reviewing the case between Miss Raines and Ashford Hospital, a few things came into mind when I had to make my decision. Miss Raines, being both an employee and a patient of the hospital, has a two-sided battle that can be fought. One question that I initially had was, when Miss Raines was initially in process as a patient, did her doctor inform her that some of her personal information may go out to those that she worked with? My second question was there any consent form signed? My third question was, how did Mrs. Raines and her supervisor come to the conclusion that she knew what was going on and that her personal information had been leaked? So before I could make my decisions, I had to do some research to figure out what was the best case in scenario for this case. I can see that Mrs. Raines is concerned about how her personal information was leaked to her employer, but she was also a patient of the hospital. With that being said, the Ashford Hospital first pointed out that she signed both Confidentiality and Privacy Act forms when she first became an employee of the hospital. And also, in researching the HIPAA rules, there is an exemption that is included in the disclosure of PHI in order to complete a person's medical treatment. With that being said, the PHI that was released was concerning a direct result of the surgery that she was having, just not a leak for any old reason. The question that I did have that neither party answered was, how did her employer figure out that she was having surgery that day? Did she discuss it with Miss Raines? Was there some type of information other than the surgery that she was having that was discussed? That part to me seems like the bigger issue than her personal information that seemed to be already going out to the hospital was important to answer. After reviewing all the HIPAA and PHI violation penalties, I was trying to figure out where Ashford Hospital went wrong and which category they would fit in if I chose that they failed to do the proper disclosure. The biggest part of knowing about HIPAA and PHA violations is that they willfully and knowingly release PHI. And even if they didn't, even if it was an accident, then somebody should have known somewhere that it was released. This part was hard to figure out. Because the senior employee that Ashford Hospital said was going to receive the schedule anyway, was hard to say that yes, it was a violation of HIPAA and PHA. One, I know if I was a senior management person and I had a person on my team that was going to be having inpatient care or outpatient care in my hospital, I would probably just give them a heads up that whatever PHI they sent, I would have some type of viewing and privy to. Maybe this is a conversation that takes place during an interview. Maybe this is a conversation that takes place when the patient says they're going to be having something performed in the hospital. But it seems like there was a miscommunication between the two. The two things that stuck out in my mind when I had to make my decision is, one, if the hospital official was going to receive the information on Miss Raines, regardless if she was an employee or a patient, that is not misappropriation of her data. Two, did any other action take place when her employee found out? Was there any talk of a termination of her job or suspension because of the surgery that she was receiving? That's why I have questions on if I can rule in favor of Miss Raines. And for me, if it's not a reasonable doubt, if I have a reason of doubt in my mind, I cannot say that Ashford University clearly disobeyed the HIPAA and PHI rules. For this reason, I have to rule in favor of the defendant, Ashford Hospital, and drop the case. I base my decision on the information that I have researched and the information that both parties presented. I feel like we're in a day and age where electronic records are taking over, and it sounds as Ashford did what they were supposed to do by ensuring that Ms. Raines signed the appropriate confidentiality and privacy consent forms prior to her having the surgery and becoming a patient. Again, with this being said, when you have an employee and a patient, I think it's Ashford's job for now in the future to know that they should go back and reassure that all of their employees understands the rules and maybe who will be privy to the information going on with their health care. Again, my ruling is in favor of the defense, Ashford Hospital, and I find them free and clear of any HIPAA violations.